Most brands sound the same, and that's why they're not buying from you. They're full of jargon, word salad, and just stuff nobody understands. So what can you do about it?
Yeah, I mean, the main problem is that they're literally not clicking on your ads. You're wasting your ad dollars. You're not getting any results from it. They're confused when they come to their website.
Messaging and positioning has never been more important. And in today's episode of All the Hats, we're going to be deep diving into why it's so important and what you can do about it. Welcome back to All the Hats. My name is Omar.
My name's Alicia.
And we have our trusty producer all the way from sunny Orlando, Dino.
I'm glad to be back.
Still wearing the Steve Jobs outfit, I see.
This is all I have.
Yeah, it's the uniform. He has 100 turtlenecks, and that's it.
Yes, that's all he has?
That's all he has, 100 turtlenecks.
Well, today we're going to be talking about something very close to our hearts, right? Mm-hmm. The reason is because we felt the pain of having bad messaging and positioning on our own skin.
I think it wasn't just that we felt the pain. I think that subconsciously we knew there was a problem.
But we didn't know what it was. And it was like the last thing we were thinking of, you know?
We didn't know how to solve it.
Yeah.
Like, we spent a lot of time poring over text. You remember?
I mean, we were like, let's spend more on ads, or like let's fix the campaigns, or
I think that what we needed was for our ad agency at that time to tell us the problem is not your budget, the problem is not your location or your audience, the problem is your messaging is not resonating, and nobody told us that.
I mean, I guess that is the problem with agencies. Many of them just want you to spend more, and maybe they didn't even know themselves.
Exactly.
But if you're not communicating something that solves a real problem for somebody or creates a real value for a company, you know, why should they listen or click on your ad, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So back to your point, I mean, we knew there was a problem because there was, our ads were underperforming, but at the same time, we didn't know how to solve it. And it was you who turned me on to my Queen of Queens, April Dunford.
Lady April Dunford.
Yep. Read all her books. I've listened to every podcast. If you, small team marketer, have not listened to April Dunford yet, I highly recommend her. Just everything.
What is it called? Absolutely.
Awesome.
No, obviously awesome. Obviously awesome.
She has a new one called
Sales
Pitch.
Yeah.
But she also just has a podcast, which is incredibly helpful and valuable. That you'll learn something. I had to listen to it with like a pen and paper.
Okay, so let's take a step back. What is positioning?
Positioning is figuring out what your differentiating value is and how you can communicate that.
And sometimes, that means kind of figuring out what category you as a company or a product fit into, right?
I think what happens a lot of the times that I see with these B2B SaaS companies is you've got a CEO or a tech guy who thought of a great idea, but it's rarely ever something completely new, right? There's like other players in the space, but they figured out how to make this exceptional.
Yeah.
But so often, the way that they're talking about it, they feel they have so much belief in their product that they end up just sounding like everybody else because they can do it.
Yeah.
Kind of like the marketer attitude that we talked about in our first episodes. Oh,
yeah.
We can do that.
Yeah.
So they're afraid to pigeonhole themselves because they want all the customers they can
you
have.
mean they want to go niche enough?
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. But like a category, let's take an example, like project management tools.
Mm-hmm.
You got your Monday, or you got your Asana, or Basecamp, or Trello. Maybe that's the thing. It's like a company needs to communicate to the prospects and the customers like what category they believe they're in. Because if they don't, maybe the customer's never gonna be able to kind of realize that, and they don't understand if they are looking at the right tool for them or like a right product for them.
Would you say, by category, are you meaning like who's our primary audience, or do you mean like your actual category? Like, I am a project management tool in a project management because I think positioning is not just I'm a project management tool. It's I'm a project management tool for airplane builders.
Sure. No, absolutely. I agree with that. So it's kind of like I am this for these people or these types of companies,
Exactly, yes.
and that means this is the expectation from the prospects and the customers, the market, and I'm competing with these competitors.
Yeah.
So that's category kind of to me.
Well, okay, I have a quote from the queen herself, and she says, customers don't care if your product is awesome. They care if it's awesome for them. And
That's cool.
yeah, and that is really the whole thing. Like when someone lands on your website, how do they know what you do? Do they know that you are for them? Those are basically the two things that you need to ensure.
Yeah.
And you talked about Basecamp and Asana, and honestly, like I didn't love either of those websites, but I don't know, maybe
Let's have a look at them in a little bit.
yeah.
Let's look at their website and see what we think of their messaging. But because that's the next step after positioning to me. It's like after you realized what you are, for who, how you're different, and who you're competing against, then you can start messaging.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
And that's more than just finding a good tagline, or a headline.
Yeah, I mean,
Which is always tough but fun.
Yeah, like if you are something very specific, if you have a very niche product, if your product is for a vertical within a vertical within a vertical, then I say skip the tagline because it's going to be way too overarching,
or at least not obsess over it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Everybody wants to find that just do it Nike,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
it's just tough,
It's really tough for a very specific technical thing that you are selling.
I would say clarity is more important than cleverness there.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you have to just also figure out, how much technical jargon you want to have on there. A great messaging person, if you guys want to learn about messaging and how to write clear, concise messaging, is Emma Stratton. She has a book called Punchy.
That's a good one.
Yep. And one of the things she talks about is explain it like you're at a barbecue.
Yeah, grandma at a birthday party. I also heard that.
I like that one. Oh, that. I think it'd be too simplified.
What do you
I had to
do?
explain it to my grandma. She'd be like, "No, still don't get it." At the same time, if you have a very technical product, maybe for your website it has to be a level up from the barbecue because you need to show a little bit of your expertise, and there can be some, acronyms in there. But one of the things I ask all of our clients to do when they're talking about jargon on their website is like, do you talk about it like this? Or do your customers talk about it like this? So if you're using an acronym, like, is this just something you came up with? Because if that's the case, like, leave it off your website.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what that is.
Yeah. And I mean, like, what are the components, what are the Legos of messaging? I mean, if you break it down, it's like, you could say it's a headline, sub-headline, it's the value proposition, what value you bring, what problem you solve. It's a unique selling points, how you're differentiators.
Yeah.
That's elevator pitch. It's the stuff that all comes together on your website. And I think that's the biggest mistake most companies I've worked with actually do, is just their website is nothing but product. It's a product. But
Feature.
Yeah.
Feature.
Yeah.
And then when you say you have a messaging problem, they'll say, well, actually, we're working on our brand guidelines. And in our brand guidelines, you'll have our tone of voice. And I'm like,
that's not going to solve it.
No.
So what is going to solve it? It's actually, if you ask us, I think we do agree, actually, because we do love our customer research.
Yeah, absolutely. Customers research. That's the number one way that you'll be able to figure out how your customers are talking about their problem.
Yeah.
What words they're using. And, if you are in a B2B SaaS company and you're creating a product for them, you are pivoting all the time and you're figuring out, product-wise, feature-wise, exactly what you want to roll out. And the only way you'll get a good picture of how you can best serve your customers and what the market needs is by speaking to your current customers.
Speak to your current customers, sit in on sales calls, do surveys. Like we just went through this with my new company, Optize.
Yeah.
We were kind of trying to figure out what category do we fit into, what's our messaging, and then that's kind of the first attempt at that was the new website, Optize.com. So what we went to a great company that I like, Flats PMM.
Yeah.
But before we did that, we actually did a survey through Winter. You know, Piplaha and those guys.
Yeah.
You know, you can go to winter.com and you can send out the survey to your target audience, or what you think is your target audience. I mean, that step one is actually trying to figure out.
Okay, this is a question for you.
Okay.
Because a survey is better than nothing. I'd much rather sit down with a customer and have that like FaceTime or listen in or whatever. And I'm not 100% convinced of the value of a survey, but
Depends on the survey.
I'm willing to be convinced otherwise.
I've done thousands of surveys. Maybe not thousands, but like hundreds at least.
Many.
Yes, a lot of surveys. And I like open fields, open text answers, not like, pick A, B, C, D,
Right.
I like open questions, and then I just review, and you have to just spend a lot of time on going through the answers. But I do agree with you, though. Nothing beats a sit-down face-to-face with your customer and just keeping it open, and if there's trust there, that's and just listening to what words they actually use to describe their world, how they're doing things at the moment. There's a great book out there called The Mom Test, and it has just because customer research and customer interviews, you can easily kind of pollute them. You can go, you do like that, don't you?
Yeah.
If you're asking the wrong questions,
We did that a lot.
We did do that a lot. But now it's more like describe how you're currently doing it, and if this didn't exist, what would you do then? It's like these type of questions that they're recommending you do. So you get them to just tell you a little bit about their world in their own words.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, okay. I mean, I didn't see. Did I see? I'm not sure if I looked at our winter. Is it winter or vinter?
It's Winter with a Y.
Okay, it's winter with a Y, not winter with a VY.
I mean, it is kind of expensive, but I did find value in that survey. It did give me insight into what our target audience is thinking and what they're using. Because I was trying to frame the questions in a specific way. I try to keep them as open as possible. And then I just spent a lot of time going through it because it's incredibly valuable and there's gold nuggets hidden in there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the gold nuggets that you're looking for. And that's what you'll be wanting to put into your messaging. And but it's a separate thing, messaging and positioning. And we're like lumping it all together in this one episode right now. But to break it down again, positioning is figuring out like who your ICP is.
Yeah.
Figuring out who your
ideal customer
profile is.
Yeah.
Yes. And then once you figure out who your ideal customer profile is, it's making sure that you are speaking to that exact person and telling them the value that your product will bring. And we want to make sure that the value is not too high level. I remember back in the day, you used to always tell me, but you have to say, what was it that you have to say? Save time?
Yeah, when you're talking about the value.
Yeah.
I was like, it was always the same. It was like, save time, more money,
revenue,
cut
more
cost.
revenue, more revenue. It was always like, but we have to put in more revenue. And we have now since learned, every day is a school day, and we can look back at our past selves and laugh at ourselves and know that we know better today. And in, 6 months, we'll be laughing at our today selves. But yeah, you can't have too high level of a value, or else you just sound like everybody else. Yep.
And I mean,
question.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt here.
We got Dino on the line.
Yeah. Do you think it's unrealistic for them to expect to get their positioning or messaging done the first time, or like what is the process of evolving it over time?
I mean, that's a great question, and it just depends on how much time and effort you're going to put into this element. Like, we were talking about us working with Fletch, and that's because we knew exactly that this is a really hard thing to nail down.
Yeah.
There's a lot of opinions, and we needed a guiding figure who is really, strong in this to help move us through this process.
Yeah.
It's not saying, and then like the second part of your question is absolutely, as the product evolves, as the business evolves, then your positioning will also most likely shift.
Absolutely.
So it's a living being.
So it's not future proof, and I think you can start out with one version, and then you should learn from what the engagement is with that particular messaging and positioning you come out with, and learn from, is it hitting the mark,
Yeah.
And if it's not, tweak it, and then the market's going to move. That's what happened in our old job, was that we were like the number one company in our space, and then all of a sudden, all the customers are going somewhere else, and we were like, what is going on? And it took us like 2 years to figure out that the market had moved, the messaging needed to be updated, and we were just like we hadn't updated it for a while, and people thought we were old school. So that's what happened. So let's talk a little bit about our collaboration with Fletch, because I love those guys and girls, because we felt like we knew a lot about messaging and positioning, and I had drafted this monster of a strategy and messaging and positioning doc, and I had drafted the first version of our website, and those guys just tore that to pieces with a lightsaber,
Which is like, as a marketer, it's just you're constantly eating humble pie.
Yeah.
I recently listened to a quote and I loved it so much, because I'm somebody who takes things very personally. But it was, once you put an idea out there, it doesn't belong to you anymore. So then, allow people to work with it, move it, manipulate it.
Yeah.
And it's has nothing to do with you, because you don't own it anymore.
But if you say it's my idea,
no, once it's out of your mouth, it's not your idea anymore. Now it's belonging.
Tough.
Yeah. It's good and it's bad, because you don't get as much cred maybe, but also you are able to open your idea up to morphing into a better idea.
Yeah.
And that's what Fletch did with your website.
I mean, absolutely. I still feel like it was my idea. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. No, but I want to give a shout out to Anthony and Kate over at Fletch, because they were so good. Because sometimes, you might have noticed, I sometimes feel like I know everything, and I don't. And they just came in and they were just like, listen, I think you're in the wrong category. I don't think you're overextending, because if you say you're in this category, then people are going to have this expectation. They're going to expect that you solve all these problems and you have this functionality. And I was like, we don't. Well, then that's not the right category for you. Also, you'll be competing with these major players over here. Are you ready for that?
Yeah.
I was like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
So we lowered the bar on the category. We went into a category where I was like, we actually do more than this. But he's like, well, let's just start out in this category, and then you grow into the next one.
He talked about this in a recent LinkedIn post, and he called it the Trojan horse.
Yeah.
And I was like, he used that line on us, and it was a really good line.
It was what sold it to me, actually,
Yeah.
that Trojan horse. He did a Trojan horse with a Trojan horse.
He Trojan horsed. Yes,
Us,
exactly.
yeah,
Us,
yeah.
for sure.
So we went to them and we were like, listen, here's a 1,000-page messaging doc that we created. Please read all of it, plus our customer research. And here's the draft to our website. And I think they were like, yes, we will read it all. And then I think they threw it away. And they did. No, I'm just kidding.
Sure.
I think they skimmed it and they went all over it. But I think they were like, let's use our methodology here.
Yeah.
And then we went through that process with them. And I just saw how incredibly experienced they were in this, and how simplicity is the key here. So you don't have to have like a lot of like complicated words and a lot of jargon on your website. You just have to have a clear message so people get it,
Yeah. I mean, if you go to their website, Fletch PMM, I think it is.
Yeah.
You can see their own website. They practice what they preach. And if you go to optize.com, you can see how we applied, what they did for Optize.
I wish I could show people my first version because it was a nightmare compared to this.
We should have that in the resources or something like
yeah,
that.
It's like, by the way, this is the first version of the website. No, actually, we got a lot of, when we launched, we got so many people from the marketing world going, Optize nailed it with their messaging. And I was like, I wish I could take credit for it. But it was like, it was Anthony and Kate, that really did help out.
And and I think credit to you is, you were willing to go into a different category, and it's that you need to take that fear away of pigeonholing yourself.
Yeah.
They'll oftentimes I hear clients say, well, we don't want to pigeonhole ourselves. We can do this, we can do that.
Yeah.
But that's not it. Like, your product can do this at its current state. So win this market, and then as you grow or your product evolves, then we can shift the messaging.
Exactly. And I mean, this radiates into everything that is in marketing. It's not just the website, it radiates into campaigns, it radiates into content, and it radiates into just internal messaging.
Exactly.
It's like your messaging and positioning is at the heart of what you do. So and it's so nice when you feel like you've hit it. You're like, okay, now everything that I write from here on out is just easy.
Yeah.
Because I know who we are.
Exactly. I know, we know what our perspective is.
Yeah.
And I guess the one caveat I will say is make sure you're not in 2 years' time still riding the same train if the market has shifted, right?
Yeah.
So, and that takes us back to making sure you're speaking to your customers
consistently.
Yeah.
You know what my favorite part of messaging is?
What?
Point of view.
Point of view.
It's like, what is the companies or the people that work their point of view on the world? We are creating this product to solve this problem in this way because we believe X.
Yes.
We really believe this is the way to do it, and we'll die on that hill, and that's why we're here.
Yes, exactly.
Having a strong point of view, I think that helps rally people behind you if they do believe the same thing.
Yeah, and chances are, if you know your customers and you've built this product, they will.
Yeah.
They will rally behind you.
I mean, let's take Chris Walker, for example. When he started out with Refine Labs, he was like, attribution is not working. Put in the how did you hear about us question, which I really believed.
Yeah.
And then I rallied kind of behind him. He had a really strong point of view on a lot of things.
Yeah.
You got James Carberry at Sweetfish. He's like, hey, podcasts are a great way to create content, long-form content, and then you break it up into smaller clips and then you distribute it. That's a point of view that video content is the way to go.
I think Chris Walker has now shifted, though. I think we're moving away from the attribution model or something. There's something going on there.
He's growing. He's
and that's another example of like, you had a point of view.
Yeah.
It's now you've learned more.
Yeah.
And it's shifting,
Yeah.
and it's okay. And it's not like you did anything wrong. Everyone is just, and like in marketing, I think this is such a great thing just to remember is that, I mean, if you went to school for marketing in university, which I didn't, but like none of the things that I would have learned back in university would be applied to today.
Sure.
Yeah. So like, it's okay to just continue to move and shift and evolve and learn as the market also does and as the world also changes.
And here's a quick tip for people out there. If you've nailed your messaging and positioning, if you nailed it and you got it articulated in a messaging and positioning doc, throw that baby into ChatGPT as a kind of intro and as a guidelines for a project.
Yeah.
And then if you're creating content, you have that Bible, kind of set in stone in there. And then, every piece of content that ChatGPT is going to help you create, copy, blogs, white papers, whatever you're working on, it's going to have that messaging and positioning kind of nailed in there.
I mean, I think that ChatGPT will be a constant in this podcast because it is such a useful tool for us marketers. Asking ChatGPT to help you figure out what is your differentiating value. That is an incredibly difficult task to come to. And now if you're putting in all this data, you launch your entire sales deck into ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And then you ask them to take a look at some of your competitors and ask them what your differentiating value is between them.
Yeah.
It's going to come to you with some really good ideas.
Yeah.
Of course, the grain of salt always with ChatGPT is treat it as if it's your first year college level maybe third year college level employee. Like, it's going to give you ideas, and it's not going to be 100% correct all the time.
It is getting so smart, though. I mean, I like a month ago, I would have been like, yeah, but like right now, I'm like, I think I'm in love. It's just like I love ChatGPT. I even have a project where I made her fall in love with me a little bit. I think.
I know. I remember that. That was like, I was like, you have too much time on your hands.
I don't, but it was. I think it was worthwhile. I think
you were testing out its like morality or something like that.
I was just curious, where you could take it.
Like a guy thing. I know that like my husband, he did the same thing, but for some other thing, talking about just really like hot topics and trying to get it, like, and it seeing how far it could provoke it.
Yeah.
I don't know any single one of my girlfriends who has ever tried to test the boundaries of ChatGPT. Like, maybe we're just, I don't know. Is it a guy thing? Is it
maybe? Yeah.
If you're in our YouTube, definitely comment on your thoughts.
I will say that though,
testing out ChatGPT's boundaries.
I will say that I don't recommend people just throw stuff in there and just like create content with AI like that. You have to have a big strategy behind it, or at least have really the input from you needs to be your tone of voice, your messaging, your positioning, and your brand, all of what you believe in and stand for. So don't let it loose.
Don't let it loose. But even that, I rarely ever copy paste anything from ChatGPT and put it live.
Yeah.
Like,
you rewrite it, you mean?
Yeah. There's always some tweaking, no matter how much I've given them, and I have a lot. I have tone of voice. I have a great, messaging positioning guide. I have like, I'm giving it a lot, and it gets close.
Yeah.
It gets 90% there.
Yeah.
But it's never 100% for me. And maybe because I am super.
I mean, you are a great wordsmith. Did you ever try like Jasper AI and those tools that were like specific for copy?
No.
Okay, it was like ChatGPT with like a copy flavor, a tool like that. Dino, what do you think? Do you use ChatGPT?
I love me some ChatGPT. I definitely stick with what Alicia was saying, where it's like, rarely am I copy pasting, but I'm definitely using it to spitball ideas, get a first draft.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm like asking if there's someone I want to mimic. I'm like, make sure to rewrite this in the style of so and so.
Yeah.
Something that on your point though, Alicia, you're like, why do guys try and test the limits? I think us guys want to know if we're gonna have to be the lead hero in a Terminator movie.
When Skynet hits?
Yeah, we're just waiting. We know it's coming, so we're like, we prepare.
All right,
yes.
Okay. I mean, I like.
We're gonna be like Operation Human Shield, I think, in that. Yeah. So
my gripe is.
Have you seen that video, by the way, of that? With that. What do you call it? Not humanoid, or like a robot in China that went loose in that warehouse.
Yes.
Have you seen that?
Oh my
it
gosh.
went berserk, and it was just like, if that thing got out into the wild,
it was in arms.
It was pretty crazy. I was like, Jesus Christ! Like one hit from that, and you're dead.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, every time I watch those, I don't like end of the world movies because I'm like, I'm not Tom Cruise. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not going to be the one who's like, I'm the one that's getting zapped next to Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
That like was there for a second.
Like, what was that movie?
That the boulder hits from a falling building.
Exactly. Yeah.
What was that movie? Machina?
Ex Machina.
Machina, yeah. That was. Did you ever see that one?
Oh, incredible film.
That was a pretty good one, yeah.
Incredible
Did you
film.
see it, Dino?
I haven't seen it yet. It's on my list though. I have a question for you guys. I know I shared I shared with you a few different websites of different competitors for a productivity websites. I'd love for you to break down when you're putting together your website, how do you get your messaging right? How do you get your positioning right? How do you put it all out there? And you can kind of use these two websites as a way to kind of like give examples.
So you gave us Asana on one hand, which is a leading project management tool, and Basecamp, I think also project management tool. So very different websites, very interesting examples, Dino. I like it. Because you got, let's just open them up real quick here. Let's start with Asana because it's quite, if you look at it, you land on Asana where your teams and AI coordinate work together. See how your work connects to goals while working alongside AI that understands your business. Get started, see how it works. What I will say is it's a very well-structured website. Clear, it's almost out of the box like the template for a B2B website, but it's very kind of stocky and boring if you ask me.
It's stock photo-y, and from small marketing team perspective, like it doesn't make, I don't like if your customer is Amazon or Accenture, like I feel like this is going to be too big for me. You know what I mean?
Oh, you feel like it's more enterprise?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, it's all these enterprise examples. And I know that it's not just because like I use Asana on my daily, for our projects.
Do you like it? Don't like it.
I don't know. Do I
I
like
mean,
it?
it's just my personal preference, but yeah.
I don't not like it.
I feel like it's too complicated.
Yeah, I'm getting used to it. I don't like that it's very task-based. Like sometimes I don't want to write a task.
Yeah.
I want it just to be, but I don't know. This is a project management tool. So like,
what's your
use another
favorite project
tool.
management tool?
Slack.
That's...
I know.
It's more like a communication
It is, but
tool.
I use Slack for project management and I like...
You make lists?
I make my own lists.
You want to know what my favorite one is?
What?
Just good old Trello.
Yeah.
I like Trello.
You like Trello?
Monday's better than Asana. I don't like Asana, and I just like I like me a good old Trello board.
Yeah, we had
simple.
Our friend Tom from WAG who got us onto Trello.
Yeah.
Trello board, he used to call it.
Yeah. To do, in progress, done. That's all you need.
Yeah. But I guess it just depends on what it's for. And so for me, for like if I had a B2B as a, small B2B team marketer, I would say this is a little bit too big, but I'm happy to see like that there's a pricing there for me so that I could take a look at the top of the page. And I mean, I'm not really going to be scrolling down that much, to be perfectly honest. I'm probably just going to try it out because it's got a get started button. Like,
yeah.
Do you feel like the messaging is clear, or do you feel like it's still a little hazy?
Where your teams and AI coordinate work together. Like,
yeah.
I wanted to say like you're a project management tool. That's
and
what
who is it for? And like, is this? Yeah, I don't think it's clear. But the only thing I will say, it's very well structured. It looks like the perfect brochure for a B2B company, but it's just that the messaging is just so generic and kind of uninteresting that I don't feel any need to read anything. And that's kind of where the story comes in. If you can have a really good story about what you believe or why you're like this or how you're different, then it's definitely gonna hit home better for me. If the tone of voice is more fun. I just feel like this is very robotic tone of voice.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, there's two things that these things comes down to when making a decision, right? And it's like if they understand what you do and if they can afford you, how much you cost.
But the first question I ask at any time is, how are you different than your competitors? That's the first question I always ask.
Yeah.
Like, how are you different? And then I'm not talking about price. I mean, maybe price is one variable, but it's like we have this, or we're specifically, like you were saying before, we're specifically made for your type of company because we know that you have this problem in this way.
Yep.
And that's why we're solving it like that.
Yep. So I mean, for
nothing terrible.
But if we're going to let's jump over to Basecamp right now.
Okay, let's move to Basecamp. Completely different website.
And it was like, I mean, I gotta say, like, maybe I just don't love project management tools, or it's just like a personal thing, but I like the messaging there, wrestling with projects. It doesn't have to be this hard. Like, this to me is a little bit more like, okay, problem statement, solution, and then the letter is a bit misplaced for me. I know you love the letter, and I think that there's a time and place for a letter, but this seems really high up.
So it's like the first thing you see on the website is an image of people struggling with, like an illustration with people struggling with their project management tool. And then it goes straight into a letter from the CEO and co-founder, Jason Fried. And what I like about it, I'm not saying I'm in love with it. I'm just saying I like that there is a personal touch to it where the CEO of a company has written, potentially himself, a letter trying to address what is usually in kind of different sections of a website. So you got your value prop, you got your target audience or ICP in there, you got how they're different. It's all weaved into a narrative. That's what I like. But what it's missing for me is at the same time is I kind of need to kind of really look for and kind of find the pieces. I usually know where to look for things. So it's a structure is it's a mess for me. It's all over the place on this site for me.
There's two things. Number one, with that letter, I have a personal grievance against bolded text because I want to skim. And when I see bolded text like this, my eyes literally go like ping pong balls
You mean bolded text within copy?
Within copy.
Yeah.
My eyes go like ping pong balls and I'm like not focusing on one single one. But if it was just all one paragraph, I would basically just skim it,
Yeah.
And the second thing, and this is a positive, my favorite thing about it is that top left-hand sentence at the very top there. Can you read it? Because I don't want to move my...
Sign up for free?
No. That's right-hand corner.
Basecamp is the
Basecamp,
no-nonsense project management system.
Oh, okay. Mine says Basecamp is the refreshingly simple project management system.
Oh, and mine says super organized.
Oh,
it's upper left corner?
Yeah.
It's got different messaging.
I like that.
It personalizes based off of like any cookies you're bringing to the website.
Could be.
So what does yours say, Omar?
Mine says Basecamp is the no-nonsense project management system by 37 Signals.
So yours is no nonsense. What's yours, Dino?
Mine says so Basecamp is the super organized project management system.
Yours is super organized and mine is refreshingly simple.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, interesting. I like that. I mean, you have said, Omar, that your goal in life is for websites to customize the messaging and everything about it based off of who you are.
And how you're engaging with the website. Yeah. That is my goal. So everybody gets a personalized experience.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot. I'm definitely not scrolling down. And like, how much do I actually need to know when I'm choosing a project management system? You know what I mean?
I guess, towards the end of the website, it's starting to look like, I don't know, it's the design of it. I don't know about the design of it. It almost seems like a Word doc or something. But what I do like about it, it has a ton of videos explaining stuff. So what I like about Basecamp is essentially, if you sum up, is like I really like their tone of voice versus the robotic kind of really cold tone of voice of Asana. So Basecamp is more warm, it's like more friendly, and it's trying to be kind of just a little bit informal.
And I think that they do a really good job with their values. 10 seconds. Oh, sorry. Scroll down a little bit. 10 seconds after you sign up, clarity sets in. So, by reading that, they're not saying easy onboarding.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They've found a good way to keep their messaging like fun and refreshing. It doesn't have to like wrestling with projects. It's not like elevate your project management, streamline your project management. They found the non-jargony way to talk about their values, and I think that they did a really good job with that.
And what they do really well is that they've hit those the value, how they're different, and who they're for really early on the website. So they go. Most project management systems are either overwhelming, inadequate, or bewildering, or chaotic. So that's like problem statement.
Mm-hmm.
So. And then they go, Basecamp is refreshingly straightforward with a 1-year track record. So you got trust and credibility. They've been in the game for a long time. And then they go, designed for smaller, hungrier businesses. And then if you're one of those, they're made for you.
As opposed to those giant customer logos like Amazon and Accenture.
Yeah. 85% of Fortune 100 companies choose Asana. Footnote. You rarely see that on a website. So, and then you got Amazon, Accenture, Johnson & Johnson. So it feels like Asana is more enterprise, but they don't really say it.
But that's maybe who they're going after.
Probably.
When you're looking at this, what is the difference between their messaging and their positioning here? And how might someone maybe be able to learn from this website to differentiate that?
Yeah. So messaging is how they've written it. Like wrestling with projects, it doesn't have to be this hard. That is messaging. That's like if they didn't use messaging in this, or a messaging framework, it would literally be a feature, right?
Yeah.
Which is what we see often in B2B websites. It's going to be like, keep all of your projects in one place. That it will just be a feature of the actual product.
Yeah.
So the messaging is they've taken the feature and they've turned it into a value, and they've made it in a way that will speak to their audience.
Exactly. I guess, positioning is defining it.
Yeah.
Messaging is articulating it.
Yes, exactly.
And that's saying we're designed for smaller, hungry businesses. That's saying who you're for. Mm-hmm. How you word it, that's the tone of voice, and how you write it, that's all part of messaging as well.
Yeah.
Do you think it was intentional with how they paste this? When do you do you start with messaging as the hero statement, and then where do you start adding in your positioning? What is that?
So it's all kind of combined. Yeah, it's all combined into one. They've used a headline, which is wrestling with projects. It doesn't have to be this hard. They used a headline there, but really close by in your header before your first scroll, you're always going to want to have your positioning shown in there in your message. So whether that's just a headline and a subheadline. In this case, Basecamp used the CEO letter as a way to communicate their positioning. Mm-hmm. But in most B2B websites, it's going to be headline, subheadline, and that's it. And that's
the hero section.
Yeah, the hero section. Exactly.
Above the fold.
Thank you. Yeah. And that's exactly where you're going to want to have your positioning, because you really just, if they don't know you, if you're cold, that's your one chance.
I think they say you have about 10 seconds for somebody makes an opinion of you, and research shows that 25% of people do not scroll below the fold. Mm-hmm. So, the hero section on your website is your most valuable real estate. You need to be really clear on what you are, what problem you solve, what value you create, how you're different, and who you're for.
They've also taken the opportunity to try to do some problem statements in the graphic Basecamp.
Yeah.
It's a bit busy for me, but it's just a style preference.
Where are you on logic versus emotion in B2B?
I'm always emotion.
Yeah, me too. I think that's what this image is. It's drawn emotion. It's
people are people.
Yeah. Because they always say, in B2C marketing is emotional and B2B is logical. But I don't believe that.
No. At the end of the day, everybody wants to be good at their jobs.
Yeah.
And be better at their jobs. and they want a tool to help them be better at their jobs.
And I mean, if you're buying a tool for your company, if you buy the wrong one, what you're worried about is getting fired or like it's reflecting badly on you. And so it's emotional stress, that to buy something. Yeah. So you might justify it with logic, but I think it's going to be emotional buy.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
So something that you brought up, you have here a quote from Emma Stratton. You should be able to explain what you do at a barbecue. If you can't, it's too complicated. Could you touch on that quote, Alicia, and then you guys kind of talk through simplification and then end with a prompt of what is one thing every homepage should do well?
So, I mean, yeah, I think I learned it from Emma Stratton, actually, the whole, I have the quote here. Let me just read it for you guys. You should be able to explain what you do at a barbecue. If you can't, it's too complicated. At the same time, we do have a lot of companies who have technical product. Mm-hmm. And so you do have to have a little bit of jargon in there. So I always like to say, do 3 versions of it. 1 heavily jargon, 1 medium jargoned, and 1 overly simplified.
Of your elevator pitch?
Of your
BBQ pitch?
Of your BBQ pitch, yeah. And not just your sure. We could say of everything, I would say. Of your headline, of your subheadline, of your elevator pitch. Always have 3 versions that you can kind of like riff off of. And this is where, of course, ChatGPT helps because it gives you a couple of them to play around with and see which one resonates.
Yeah.
And use them in like your next sales pitch and just see if you get a head nod. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like test them out a little bit. I think we will be talking about A/B testing.
We shall indeed talk about A/B testing.
And I know you have some feelings about A/B testing.
In B2B, I do, yeah.
Yes. So, but there are opportunities for you to test your messaging and how much jargon, you should be using in your website.
Well, let me ask you this then. With that in mind, what is the one thing every website homepage should do well?
Communicate who you are for and what value you bring to them.
I think same answer, I guess. It's like know thy customer as well as you can and speak to them.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly.
And
don't speak to your CEO.
Don't speak to investors.
Don't speak to investors.
Because investors, if you ask me, investors don't go, whoa, this company isn't speaking to me. Mm-hmm. They understand you're talking to your customer.
Yeah.
You can have an investor section, but or subpage, but know your customer, know their problems, know what they're looking for, know what kind of words and tone of voice and kind of vibe they like, and talk to them directly on your website in a simple way so they actually want to read it.
Or in as simple as you possibly can while still making sure that you have authority in the space.
And not fun.
Yes. If you are a fun brand.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I just like all brands to be fun. Why else do it? You know?
I agree. I totally agree.
But that's, it doesn't maybe make sense in all industries. But yeah, I guess it's because you could say, we could have a lot of tips. Number one thing I would say about a B2B website is it needs to have trust. Mm-hmm. If you don't build trust through B2B, people are not going to buy from you.
I'm going to tell a quick story real quick. We were looking for content writers, and I put an ad out, and someone applied, and they gave me their website. And I was like, oh, okay. And the red flag went off that said, when I looked at the LinkedIn profile, the job was quite a high title. And so we clicked on the company website, and it was a pretty good website. It was some data tech company, okay? And then we looked at the products, and they had product page. And then we looked at their blogs, and they had a resources page. But when you clicked on the blogs, nothing happened.
Dun, dun, dun.
So it only went down 2 or 3 levels. And this person or these people created a fake company with a fake website. And they employed all of these people on LinkedIn who are actual people, and they're just writers. They're probably content writers who live in all places of the world, and they just needed a real company to work for. It was the craziest thing.
Pretty sick.
It's crazy, and that's why you need trust, because if you're selling a cybersecurity software and you have one page, how do they know you're really who you say you are?
Yeah.
Anyone can put a website together.
Yeah.
That's probably a topic for another day. Trust.
Yeah, trust. It's a big one. I mean, if you're going to buy from somebody and it's something you're going to implement in your company and it's going to be for a long time, you want to be able to trust that company. And I think what everybody at the back of their mind is going, unless it's a $9 a month, solution or product.
Yeah.
If it's a little bit expensive and it's going to be affecting more than just you, you're worried. You're worried that somebody's going to go, why the hell did we buy this tool? Who was responsible for this process?
Exactly.
Alicia was the one decided it. And you want to go, well, the reason I decided is because all these other companies like them, or they just have, 21 years in the business. You want to be able to justify why you picked them.
Yep, exactly.
Anyways.
So for now, less is more.
Less is more. I say this is my biggest learning from working with flats is keep it simple, much simpler than I wanted to do, because it's and try to turn it into a little bit of a narrative. So it goes it starts here, then it takes you here. You could have a good hero section, then go into problem statement, and then how you solve that problem, why you solve it like this, and then how it works,
Yep.
And then sprinkle that with a little bit of social proof and testimonials,
And features are not value statements. I will leave you with that.
Yes.
Features are not value statements.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to end it. So I think we should put a cork in it here for episode number 2 of All the Hats. And if you like what you're hearing, please hit subscribe and like and comment and all of that good stuff.
If you're on our YouTube page, make sure you write us a comment. Send us some of your best or worst messaging examples out there.
We love good horror stories from the world of marketing.
Horror stories, yep, exactly. And again, we're doing a call for the most random thing you've ever been asked to do as a marketer.
Yeah. And for our next episode 3 of All the Hats, we are going to be talking about what is the ideal tech stack for a small marketing team. It's a tough one, I guess, because you kind of get sometimes a little bit crazy with tools, and you just buy a lot of tools, and some of the tools overlap, and you're like, wow, how did I end up in this jungle?
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking about our favorite tools and the ones that we feel are essential in a small but mighty B2B marketing team. Well,
I like it.
Thanks everybody for listening, and have a good one.